tender frauding. Mr. Tendani, thank you so much for joining us on Unisa Radio and Swani TV.
Thank you very much for having me once again.
Can we talk about the issue of tendering?
Yes.
Where did this whole concept come from? I know that before we had tenders, we had public works.
Yes.
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 If you can just take us through it, please.
Thank you very much for having me once again. The issue of tenders, it's something that did not start now. And unfortunately, it is one of the issues that it's done in accordance with particular legislations that are available, which regulate how tender systems must happen. As a result of that happening, it is to bridge the gap between government and the private sector. So it was not just an idea, it was a good idea, by the way, we must put it clear. It was a good idea. Unfortunately, it is being handled by people who have an unhealthy disregard for those particular legislation that governs, and people who have an unhealthy disregard to a process of fairness. So it's something very much disturbing, because it does not only speak to the issue of the transgression of the law, but it also speaks to the issue of individuals wanting to strongly benefit from the tender systems, and also wanting to shift the responsibility, as you would hear many people would say that the role of government is not to create employment. So it is a great initiative, but unfortunately, if you look at the tender process at the current moment and those who are being awarded tenders, and if you do a proper and a thorough investigation, you will be able to see who those people are connected to, especially the multi-billion rand tenders. They're not just given to anyone, but unfortunately, it's South Africa for what it is.
Of course.
Yes.
You know, you spoke of how, and I remember we had this discussion about, you know, the responsibility of, you know, public sector and the responsibility of private sector.
Yes.
And now mentioning that, you know, it with the whole tendering process, or with the introduction of tenders,
yes,
it was to bridge the gap.
Yes.
And also to create opportunities for, you know, economic growth, and also for the eradication of unemployment.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
But obviously with, you know, third persons, money being involved, people wanting to benefit, and just, you know, personal favors and so forth,
yes,
we find ourselves here.
Of course.
What are some of the common forms, you know, of tender fraud or irregularities, you know, that we've observed when coming to government procurement?
Well, unfortunately, what happens in the tender system, right, is the fact that I saw it through a particular individual that I would not mention by name. This individual, they've got companies, and then he's got a particular company which does not meet a particular standard. I want to show you tender fraud, but done in a more sophisticated and a more professional way.
Yes.
They would, it goes according to grades, right? So say, if you've got this grade, you cannot be awarded this particular tender, right? So what they would do, I want to show you the level of corruption that is there. What they would do is that they would bring this company, and in each and every project that they will go into, they would then say, no, you are going to be a subcontractor.
Okay.
Right?
I've heard that before, yes.
Yes, you're going to be a subcontractor. In as much as you being a subcontractor, we are trying to emancipate your company to be able to bid for these particular tenders, when our name has already been dented in many other tender processes that we have been awarded so much tenders, and it's now raise an alarm that it seems like our company is the only company that is getting this particular tender. So because you are close to us, we must be able to emancipate your company to get this particular tender, so that we can be able, when we influence the process of tenders, of getting this particular tender, it must be awarded to your company, so that you can be able to give us a particular amount of money. You might find that, let's say, it's an 80 billion rand tender, right? And then when it is like that, the very same company that is, it says, no, we're stepping back now, we are bringing this is the company that you must do business with, which it's, let's say, is the company that they've got an influence on. So they would say, no, it's an 80 billion rand tender. They would say, no, go and get it. and then they influence the process. Once they influence the process, in that 80 billion, they've got different strategies, which is one that I've spoken about the last time. They've got this attitude of overbilling, right? And this process of overbilling, this is how it would move. They would go to the supplier. When they go to the supplier, they will say the supplier must increase the price of whatever it is that they're procuring, right? So you see where the link, the corruption link is starting from the supplier itself, and then this company that is coming now with that has been awarded a tender must then corrupt the supply so that they can overbill. After overbilling, they go and take that invoice to government, which is the one that is supplying tenders. But that instruction, where does it come from? It also comes from government, right? Those who are in charge of those particular processes, those who are responsible for awarding the tender, they are the ones who gives an instruction that overbill, right? So it now becomes a chain, some sort of a chain reaction between these two that are supposed to, I said it last time, support each other. But at some point in time, we must also look at this issue of tenders. Is it really, really necessary, the issue of tenders? Because let's say, for an example, building a school, right? I said that government, at some point, it uses this tendering system to run away from a responsibility, coming back with this conception of saying it is not the duty of government to create employment. But in actual fact, if we look at it at a close eye, it is the responsibility of government to create jobs. If we were to say we are to build a school, why is it that government cannot go to a TVET college and get students who have been final year students or graduates who
civil engineering,
of civil engineering, and one civil engineering, bricklaying, electrical engineers, and get those students and say no. I'm not sure if it's the Department of Public Works.
It is, yes.
Right? Say no. These are the people that we have, and then when we have these people, these are the people that are going to build this particular school, right? Under that department, while that department has created such, right? Okay, tell me now, if the government itself is the one that is going to procure the material and and give salary to those people that it has employed, are you telling me that the government would lose so much money out of its coffers?
They would not. And I think this goes to my next question with regards to public works and tenders.
Yes.
Because like you're mentioning now, when there was public works, I'm not saying there was no corruption.
Yes.
But one, it created employment, and then we did not have issue of money being looted.
Yes.
Because there was a system, in place.
Yes.
And then that was, erased, and then this was introduced. The tendering was introduced.
Yes.
And then this is where a lot of people got access to a lot of money.
Yes.
And then this is where this whole thing started.
Yes.
Where, there was lack of service delivery and so forth. There was now, a very high unemployment rate because people are feeding off of each other. You spoke about subcontracting.
Yes.
Money is just working in one company.
Yes.
For the same people all the time. So if you can maybe just take us through the difference between, public works. I know that you've just mentioned it now briefly, but if you can just in full depth, explain to us public works, the role of public works, and also now tender.
Okay, I will start with the issue of tenders, right? The tendering system, it is meant to emancipate or give support to the private sector, because those companies that are tendering are not companies owned by government, but private individuals.
Yes.
So it is also another way of create. If we were to take it to CETA, for an example, let's make an example with CETA, right? So CETA has got a role to play in this particular country. There is a gap in education itself. I love bringing the issue of education because it's very much important, because the very same people that we need are people who are skilled. So it is to bridge the gap between in education. If you look at the South African education system itself, I have been saying that it's got a lot of loopholes. And that's where SETA comes in now. SETA comes in to say, no, we're going to upskill the individuals that do not have the necessary skills, right? So same applies with issues of tenders. Issues of tenders, they are to create employment, getting the people that have got various skills. Especially, I like speaking about tenders, not only limited, but focusing too much on the issue of construction, because that is where a lot of money is being looted. I'm not speaking only about construction, but there is also a tender that once went out of toilet papers.
Yes.
Billions.
Yes.
Buying simple toilet papers. So public works, right? If I make a very narrow example, if you look at the city of Tshwane at the current moment under the MMC Tangi, right? If you look at the work that she's doing in the streets, you can tell that this is proper government service delivery. So that was also the role of public works, to ensure that there is a sufficient service delivery. So the killing of that particular institution, it is the one that has brought us to this particular crisis that we have at the current moment. Because we would have been saving a lot of costs, we would have been delivering services effectively. But be that as it may, although we might say, yes, there was corruption, and corruption is wrong, it's not justifiable, but it was better. The only problem that we had from that particular department, because it was creating a lot of employment, it was the issue of nepotism. Right? They would employ their own family members. You understand? But these ones of tenders, there's a very huge crisis. The crisis as well, it's an issue of exploitation, right? Underpaying the people that they've employed for the services that they're giving towards them. Because if you look at it in all honesty, if I bid for a tender, I won't be doing any work.
Of course.
Unfortunately, I won't be doing. I'll just employ people to do that particular work. I am just the company who's receiving money. Hence, when someone is given 30 billion, the only money that they would spend 500,000.
Of course.
And take the rest.
Of course.
You look at the issue, I like mentioning this issue because it's very much sad to see it happening. The issue of Tembisa, the hospital. How is it that we can come and say, no, we've got unemployed medical practitioners in South Africa while someone was given a tender of that magnitude? It really does not make sense.
It does not.
Because it is deepening a lot of crises while we thought we were fixing, right? I hear people when they speak, just that I did not want to say it, but I must just say it because it's what happened. I hear people say, no, from 2009, is it 2009? Yeah, I think it's 2009 until 2014. People would know who was president during that tenure. I won't mention people's names. They say, no, we produced a lot of black millionaires. But if we go back and look at that, did that eliminate or erase the issue of inequality in South Africa? Or we're just giving to few individuals, and then we go around claiming that we've made a lot of black billionaires? If we sit down now and investigate further, today there's a unit called which was disbanded, which it's a center of discussion at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. I want to show you that this thing also has got a tender problem in it. The political killings tax team was disbanded, right? If you go back and investigate, I'm going to make an example with one case. If you go back and investigate as to why Sindiso Makakai was killed,
same thing.
He was killed because he was fighting that this building of this particular hall must not be given to this particular person because the fair procedure was not followed.
Of course.
And he had to be eliminated.
Yes.
But it's very simple. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is ironing out each and everything. We'll connect it to tenders. You ask yourself, Vusiket Matala is a beneficiary of tenders, right? But if you look at the unfoldings and the how the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is bringing out all the truth around how is it that these people got tenders? You see that there are people that in actual fact had to get these tenders because they had to finance,
of course,
other people's political stabilities.
yes,
And those people that are being financed are the one that had an influence as to why these particular individuals must get these particular tenders, so that they can do what, so so that they can be able to sustain their own political careers.
of course. Rub my back, I will rub yours.
Yes.
Yes.
Just like I've been emphasizing this thing. So it's government corrupt, it's the supplier corrupt, it's politicians corrupt, it's ministers corrupt. So what's left? The whole entire system is corrupt.
Of course.
If we look deep into it, everything is corrupt in South Africa. We just need a very serious intervention.
Of course. You spoke of governance and also development.
Yes.
When you spoke of the public works and also the private sector coming in to assist.
Yes. Yes.
The impact of tender corruption, has on service delivery, it's really sad.
Yes.
And again, with us referencing the Tembisa hospital saga,
Yes.
where people duly benefited a lot of money. We know that there is a crisis in public hospitals.
Yes.
You spoke of the issues of doctors, not having enough doctors in those spaces.
We have enough doctors.
We have enough doctors, but because of the lack of service delivery, the lack of making sure that there are necessary, I will call it for lack of a better word, equipments to assist the doctors to be able to aid the patients.
Yes.
It's not there. Why?
Yeah.
Because we have a particular allegedly Maumela who benefited, looted money, so and so amount of money.
Yes.
To, for self-gain.
Yes.
And now you are left with a hospital that is in total mess.
Yes.
With no beds.
Yes.
With no resources.
Yes.
But again, like business must continue.
Yes.
And I think one would then come and ask that, why is it that there are so many issues and, obviously referencing the tender corruption.
Yes.
Why is it that there are so many issues when coming to the public sector more than the private sector?
Okay, no, that's a very good question. And in answering that question, I will make reference to a former young president of Burkina Faso, formerly known as Burkinabe, Thomas Sankara.
Yes.
If you look at how Thomas Sankara was governing Burkina Faso, I'm going to tell you why there's a problem in the public sector and there's no problem in the private sector.
Yes.
It goes back to SAA. We'll link SAA. We'll link the hospitals. You know what Thomas Sankara used to do? Thomas Sankara said all government officials must not use private sectors, but they must use public sector, like private hospitals. When they are flying, they must not fly economy class. They must not fly business class. They must just be ordinary, just like everyone. They must not drive fancy cars. They must drive normal cars, just like each and every individual. So why is it that government officials would care so much about Baragwana Hospital, about Johannesburg Hospital, about the hospital in Tembisa, about what is this, Kalafo, while they are not using those hospitals? Have you ever heard of any government official who is ill going to a public hospital? No. Why would they care so much about it? Who goes there? It is the poor and the marginalized that use the public sector, right? The poor and the marginalized are the ones that use the public sector the most. But these elites of ours who are politicians that we have so-called elected to represent us, they use everything which is privately owned.
Of course.
I'm going to make you an example. You must ask yourself, why is it that SAA just went from up there to down there? It is because even when it was still available, our very own government officials were never using SAA. It was used by us, the poor. It was benefiting us, the poor. Hence, it had to go down. And just, if you compare the prices of SAA today and compare the prices of Fly Safari today,
Very different.
very different. SAA is becoming expensive.
Yes.
It is now it is now operating as a private owned, which what is its purpose? Its purpose, it has now shifted its mandate. Its mandate is no longer just for sustainability and ensure that the payment of pilots and those who are servicing it is proper. But it has now shifted, it has now become a profit-making machine, right? To continuously take from us anything that, if you go to a public hospital, you don't pay anything. You don't. If you go to SAA, you are paying more than what you are required to pay. We are not we're not saying that people must not use their salaries the way they want, but we're also saying even public institutions, because those public institutions are maintained through our own taxpayers' money. They must, that money that is coming out from our taxes must then do what, ensure that the infrastructure is well maintained. If you look at a majority of the things, I'll make an example. If you look at our roads today, our roads have got serious abnormal potholes, right? Why? Because these very same government officials do not drive on those roads. They are always on the sky flying. If they need to move from here to Eastern Cape, they fly, right? They are not using the road. So us who are using the road, we are the ones who are seeing the problems that are down there, but not that there's no money. There is money, but you cannot service what you don't use.
True.
But at the end of the day, they are coming electioneering, asking for our vote so that they can continuously sit in the echelons of power and continuously take that money unlawfully so and enrich themselves and their families.
Of course. Now, we also have a problem of whistleblowers being killed.
Yes.
The people that really want to do the right thing.
Yes.
The people that are investigating the wrong things,
yes.
And just bringing everything to light.
Yes.
There really isn't protection when coming to that. And I think it's also the decay and the rot that is in the spaces of corruption that is so deeply rooted that anyone who comes with a different mindset of trying to understand, the moves or, how things are shifted. Why is this money not accounted for? Where did it go? And so forth. People are being killed.
Yes.
And, ethical behavior is always questioned.
Of course.
But criminal behavior is just normal business as usual. And I think it would go back to when you mentioned that you have criminals that sponsor the lives of high political profiled people.
Yes.
Because it's a thing of, no, let me do this and then I will make sure that you are taken care of. And while that is happening, also take care of me.
Of course.
And a typical example, it is, with Ket Matlala and also all the alleged criminal activities that have been mentioned by Lieutenant General Ndatam Konasi about his hand and his presence in the space of politics.
Yes.
Now, how do we then measure, ethical behavior and accountability on people that are doing the tender frauds? And maybe also speak a little bit about how can there be protection when coming to whistleblowers? Because, like I said, silent, it's fine. Start speaking, it's a problem.
One of the fundamental questions that we must ask ourselves, which is very much important and must not be left idly, it's for us to have this knowledge publicly so that it now comes out and results in the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Did this thing start yesterday?
No, of course, yes.
There is, I can tell you for a fact now that there is no one who can go and deal with a serious assassination while there's no money involved and while they know very well that there's no form of protection towards them. There can never be accountability without an ethical behavior. An ethical person is the one who is not scared of accountability. Right? If you lack ethics, especially moral ethics, you will, by all means necessary, run away from accountability. I'm going to make you an example. very narrow example. Why are the CR17 statements sealed? If you are an ethical person, why do you have things that must be of public knowledge sealed? We're not speaking about something very much bizarre. Yes. We're speaking about the CR17 campaign. That no, you were campaigning. We're not refusing you to be resourced for you to campaign, so that you can be able to buy your delegates t-shirt, you can be able to buy your delegates food, you can be able to fund the campaign. It's very important to fund the campaign. In politics, when you are running for a particular position, you need funding. You cannot just run without funding. It's acceptable. The problem is not the funding in those statements, in those sealed statements. No, it is not. It is who funded. Because should that information be available to the public, the ethics of the president will be questioned. And that could land him in serious trouble. The first thing that he thought of where did you get the funds? Ran to the courts and sealed the statements. Unfortunately, which is very much unfortunate, I'm not sure if there are rumors, but I think I read it in a particular newspaper article that even the judge who sealed the statements is being alleged somewhere of an unethical behavior. So you see that even the judiciary itself cannot be 100% trusted. So how do you now speak of ethics and speak about accountability? You can't mix the two. Because an ethical person is one who never runs away from accountability. How do we balance the two? If we find moral and ethical individuals, accountability will never be a problem in this country. People run away from accountability because they are unethical. How do we balance the two? Can't. As long as we have not fixed the first one, which is the primary one, moral ethics, ethical values, then accountability will be nothing.
You spoke about, politics and also the economic dimension.
Yes.
Perfect example was the CR17.
Yes.
With, information being sealed.
Yes.
Because we obviously want to know who funded, the CR17, and which is, permitted.
Yes. Permitted. We're not. Yeah.
Yeah, to share that information with the public. Now, to what extent, or how does, tender manipulate effects, or rather, how does tender manipulation affect the South African economy and also confidence in investors? Because I feel like money is there. We know that money is there. We can see it by the money that is being looted in tendering. However, there seems to be some kind of an economic dimension that is not stable, obviously. So, with that, how does, tender manipulate our economy?
Okay. For an example, what is the role of tenders, right? Let's take it and put it in the sense that, no, we are tendering this particular company so that they can create employment, right? We're speaking economy.
Yes.
What does a creation of employment do for this particular country? It reduces crime. Right? Everyone now feels safe. The crime rate of South Africa has now been reduced. Right? And then investors would not want to come to a country where they know that there is a potential for them to run at a loss rather than to run at profit.
Of course.
If there is a high crime rate, let's say for an example, people going and rob a Pick and Pay. People going to these big companies and stealing this amount of money, which crime in South Africa, it is not only based on physical robbery, but also, I don't know if we call it a fraud, where someone would hack a banking system and take all the money. For example, VBS.
Yes.
Right? That's a bank. Money was taken from a bank just like that. Had it been that money was invested there by foreigners or a foreign investment, do you think those very same people would have come back to this country and invested there?
Wouldn't have.
What does it assist that with them, that man? What does it assist them with, right? If there's a lot of job creation on the ground, foreign investors, what they do is that they bring their products, right? So for an example, VW, BMW, Mercedes-Benz,
Yes.
right? So I want to show you how this thing is very fun. The bank sees it as man, and many of the people are employed,
Yes.
right? We're speaking about previously disadvantaged people. These people are employed, and as they're employed, they will run to the bank to borrow, to take loans. When they take loans, they pay that money with interest. It's either it's a loan for the bond, loan for the car, which is very ridiculous, the interest, and they are making 100% profit from people who are buying cars on debts. Those are foreign investors. So when there is low employment, do you think Mercedes-Benz would find a reason why it must have its cars here? VW, BMW, who would go and ask for house loans? Would the bank make as much money as they're making now if majority of the people in South Africa are unemployed? Will it have as much clients as it has now if majority of the people are unemployed? So we are at the crossroads as South Africa. We're at the crossroads. We are just surviving as a country because we need to survive as a country. But unfortunately, if for an example, another example as well, foreign investors cannot come to a country which has got a poor infrastructure because goods need to be moved.
Of course.
How do you move them, those goods, if the roads are not proper, the railways are not proper, the airlines are not proper? How do you move the goods? Are you not running are you not plunging your money at a risk? Because South Africa is a basket. They call it Mugabe called Africa as a basket. Is it what? Basket, bread basket, right? So a lot of investors would have interest. A foreign investment has interest in South Africa because South Africa has got a potential. But the only problem that we have, it is the level of corruption that we have in this country. That's why we're missing out on a lot of things. We've got youth which does not know what to do with itself at the current moment because of these particular misfortunes. I've got someone I know who works at a construction company. They tell you that the contract says they must get paid on the 1st. It's on the 15th. They still have not been paid. You ask yourself, how is this money being managed? You then get to tell that no, something is off. There's a very huge crisis.
Yeah. We are, you mentioned that we are at a crossroad, and it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in such a state as a country. And someone mentioned the other day that, we can't believe that South Africa is still a developing country. It will still develop because of the criminal, corrupt activities that we constantly find ourselves in. We are never in a position to uplift and profit the country, but we always tend to look at the self, more than trying to really change the systems and make sure that the country is developed so that it's doing good. When it's doing good, we are all doing good. But for as long as, the interest will always be self, we are always going to constantly find ourselves having these conversations that what is going on, what went wrong, what's going wrong, what is the potential of this whole thing just collapsing because of where we are.
I've got a very serious concern. I've got a very serious concern about this concept of saying South Africa is a developing country. What are the signs of a developing country? How do I differ? How do I sit proudly? Let's say I've visited a foreign country and speak confidently that South Africa is a developing country while it's got a high crime rate. How do I go to a foreign country and say South Africa is a developing country while it's the most unequal country in the world? How do I go to a foreign country and pride myself and say South Africa is a developing country while there is a very huge crisis of youth employment? What's developing about South Africa? I want to understand. I would like to understand that concept to say, okay, is developing economically. Okay, if it's developing economically, then why are majority of the people in South Africa unemployed?
Yes.
If it's developing economically, why is it that South Africa remains the most unequal country almost in the world? What's developing in South Africa? Because it's just a crisis. Maybe development can be spoken by those who are in the echelons of power, can say, no, South Africa is a developing country. But us who are on the ground, who are poor and marginalized and previously disadvantaged, we don't see South Africa is developing because we're not benefiting anything from the economy of this particular country.
Of course. And I think that also speaks to, the G20 that is coming in a few weeks, if not two. That, they're going to sit there, they're going to discuss policies, they're going to discuss things that they think would be, good for all the countries in terms of development and so forth. And then, because I was even having a conversation with Prof. Sunukwan, and I'm like, whatever that is being discussed there, at the end of the day, it needs to cater back to me.
Of course.
As an ordinary South African.
Of course.
Or as an ordinary citizen.
Of course.
But how is it catering to me when currently there's nothing that is happening for me?
Of course. Of course. Just like I'm saying, there is no way in which we can say the G20 will benefit us with anything. Unfortunately, I don't want to lie to anyone. The only thing that we're being fooled with is the issue of social grants. And we cannot depend on social grants. I came here and made a very serious example the last time. And I did not get my numbers accurate, but I was close because I knew of this crisis. A prisoner per day is getting 450 rands per day. There are meals, the what do you call these things of bathing?
Yeah.
Toiletries.
Yes.
Yeah. Those people are spending for each and every prisoner is spending 450 rand per day. And per month you go and give a young person who's unemployed 350 rands per month. What type of an attitude is that? When they go and discuss the issues of their G20, whatever that they're going to discuss there, which I know very well that it is not going to bear fruits towards us on the ground. They must ensure that they're discussing policies that will be able to emancipate the poor and the marginalized who are on the ground, so that we can deal with the issue of inequalities in South Africa. I don't see any young person or the poor who are at Alexandra, Diepsloot, the rural areas, who can stand proudly, and if you ask them about the G20, they will tell you what is it about. Because at the end of the day, discussion of policies has never been something new in South Africa.
It's not.
Our policies are discussed each and every day in Parliament. How many years into democracy? We've got 31 years into democracy now at the current moment. You are telling me that for all these 31 years that policies have been discussed and then inequalities are deepening like this, what are they discussing? How do they come back and benefit us? I'm saying 31 years. I'm saying a child was born when South Africa was gaining independence. 31 years. The child was born, went to school, graduated, and we still have that child unemployed.
Yes.
That, let's say it was born the day South Africa got independent, and that's then few days later they started to sit in Parliament and discuss policies.
Yes.
But we still have a child who was born that year, and even today they don't have employment. We still have a child who was born that day and went to school. Even today, that child does not have money to go to varsity. We've got NSFAS crisis.
I was about to say the same thing.
We've got an NSFAS. You want to tell me about G20? You want to tell me about fixing the economy of South Africa and eradicate and come with policies that are going to discuss the issues of inequalities, while even today we have an issue of NSFAS. Like, what type of an attitude is that? Let's stop being misled. Let's stop being misled. That is just a tea party that they're going to have there with their friends from other states and discuss whatever they discuss, how we are going to trade between our families in the name of we're developing Africa or developing the world. But at the end of the day, there is no African, black, South African indigenous individual who is poor and marginalized who will benefit anything out of that discussion. I don't want to mislead anyone.
No, your points are heard. because there was also a talk of the national dialogue that took place. What happened with that one, where 470 million was spent?
You are going far. You are going far with national dialogue. You are going far with national dialogue. We had an issue here of consultations about the land issue, which members of parliament were going around the country trying to get information. How do we take back the land? How do we take back the land?
Where's that discussion?
Tell me now how many percent of the land in this particular country has been expropriated without compensation? What was the common consensus on the ground? Was it not that the common consensus was the fact that land must be expropriated without compensation? Expropriation of land without compensation, we're not speaking about land grabbing. There must not be a misconception and a misalignment of thoughts about how the policy must be developed in order for it to speak effectively to those who are demanding such a thing. We're not saying let's go and grab the land that is already occupied. We're saying the available land, distribute it to the masses of our people so that they can be able to have a proper housing, proper places to do businesses. There is no way that you can tell me that someone who is in Europe, who has left this country close to 50 years ago and the land is not occupied, and say, no, let's leave it, it's owned by someone else. Let's make an investigation, which means that person has got no better plans for that land. Let's expropriate land without compensation and give it to the masses of our people. Now you want to come and tell me about the national dialogue. The national dialogue that, okay, what results did the national dialogue come back with that was said by the masses of our people on the ground that are going to be, that we've started to see the implementation of those things? It is just a waste of money. I tell you even about South Africa. South Africa is a joke. I tell you about the commissions of inquiries that have taken place. The Marikana Commission of Inquiry. How many families have been compensated from that Marikana Commission of Inquiry at the current moment? Is that taxpayers' money was not wasted there? We went to the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, which was a target for a particular individual. Say, were establishing this particular commission of inquiry, but they know themselves deeply why they were establishing it. They were establishing it to deal with a particular individual. And
accountability from, yes.
And unfortunately, they never got to get the individual. Was that not a waste of money? Now we're with the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Hopefully, on this one, I've got faith that it shall bear fruits because of the level of engagements that are there and the level of corruption that is being exposed there. You can tell that at least it seems like, but I always have reservations about such things. It is a political campaign. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, for it to be established, is because very soon we're nearing elections, and someone needs to gain public confidence. For over 31 years, we are being dealt with by tricks. People know when it's time for election, we need to develop a new strategy and a new trick. That's why they've got an elections committee that must come and study
know how to move
and know how to manipulate us.
Yeah, leading towards elections.
So you can't tell me about these engagements. You can't tell me about the G20. You can't tell me about Parliament. Oh, well, it's trying, Shem. Coming a little bit, developing policies. Yeah. You can't tell me about the commission of inquiries that we've had over the years. Yes, the problem with this commission of inquiries, why would those individuals go back to the masses of our people and say it was a success? It's because they went to get sacrificial lambs. They're not catching the big fish. Catch the big fish, set an example. Catch the big fish and the sacrificial lamb, set an example. So that you can be able to deal with corruption effectively.
Of course. Mr. Musekwa, thank you so much for joining us here on Unisa Radio and the Roundtable Debate.
Thank you very much for
TV, talking about issues that are concerning you. This is how we do it right here on the Roundtable Debate Show. with me, Rikho Tendani Musekwa. Make sure that you stay connected with us. We are at irayono.fm/s/207, and you can also catch the show again tomorrow from 10 to 12 right here on the Tshwane TV channel 262 on DSTV. From us to you, it is a see you later. I'm going to be ushering in the lunchtime affair team, so make sure that you stay connected with us, and then after that it's the 012 drive. From us to you, it is a see you later, and make sure that you have yourself a beautiful day.
This is the Round Table Debate with me.
Thank you.
What was it again?